Today's episode of This Week in Startups is brought to you by FreshBooks, the simple cloud accounting solution that's helping millions of entrepreneurs and small business owners save time. Go to getfreshbooks.com and use the offer code TWIST for a free 30 days. And by HipChat, bring your team to life with persistent team chat, file sharing, and integrations with the software you use, a team communication tool built for business. HipChat is free forever, and HipChat Plus, including video and screen sharing, is free for 6 months for the first 1,000 listeners at hipchat.com/twist. And by AWS Activate, the Amazon Web Services startup program. It's easy to start and scale your business with AWS. Visit aws.amazon.com/activate.
Hey everybody, today on This Week in Startups, Tristan Walker of Walker Company and Brands. This is a company here in Silicon Valley that's absolutely crushing it. They make Bevel, which is a shaving system for people of color, and they're building health and beauty products for all people of color. And it's a really great discussion about marketing products and churn rate and acquisition costs and being an entrepreneur. He's a fantastic entrepreneur. He worked at Foursquare previously. He's from Queens, which is right next to my hometown of Brooklyn, so we had a lot of great New York talk and building startups and who we respect in the industry. He's a tremendous founder and entrepreneur who's backed by Mark Suster, my friend, and Andreessen Horowitz. So he's got $10 million in backing, and this Bevel product, which you can see at getbevel.com, is doing tremendous. It makes a great gift, by the way. Go check it out and stick with us for an amazing episode.
That's what it's all about, man. They said money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. We ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you. Yeah, money is the root of all evil. What? Funny how it feeds my people. Yeah, we ain't gonna live like equals until we get the money, spend the money, and defeat you.
Hey everybody, welcome to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis, and this is the show where we talk about building products and services that change the world, that try to move the human condition just a little bit forward, with entrepreneurs and investors who are willing to take massive risk to just make something that delights users and consumers. And hey, maybe they get rich in the process, they become famous in the process, they become fulfilled in the process. I am a capitalist. I love entrepreneurship. I love capitalism. Why? Because all the problems in the world are not solvable by governments or schools. What solves problems in the world, especially the complex ones we have, are entrepreneurs who are willing to do whatever it takes to win, to go out there and just hustle to the point of killing themselves, like Elon Musk did to get the Tesla out there, went bankrupt, almost bankrupt. He invested all his money. Like Steve Jobs, like Zuckerberg, like everybody. Anybody who's in this game knows exactly how hard it is. And that's what this show is about. That's why I do this show, because I love this. I love gambling. I like making products. I like changing the world. I like capitalism. I like investing in companies. If you are a socialist, if you believe in redistribution of wealth, if you believe in the government nanny state, change the goddamn channel. You are in the wrong place. This is capitalism here. That is our religion. It's innovation, capitalism, and entrepreneurship. Those are what we worship here at This Week in Startups. So if you're not into it, by all means, there's a Greenpeace channel, I'm sure, somewhere over here on YouTube. But there's all kinds of places you can go to complain about your lot in life. But what I know after 5 years and 500 goddamn episodes of doing this show and investing in 100 startup companies is that anyone in this world with a pulse and a brain and just a determination can go make something great. Do not buy into what they tell you that, somebody's got to give you permission and that's too hard and whatever. It's all bullshit. Anybody can pull themselves up and do something great in this world. And entrepreneurship is the greatest force for change in our lifetime. That's what's going to solve a lot of our problems. The world is getting awesome. Everything is getting better. I mean, the media wants you to think everything's bad because it gets ratings. The truth is everything's getting better in this world. Entrepreneurship is on a tear. It's getting easier and easier to build these companies. There's tons of funding out there, and that's why this show is so much fun. And we now have over 100,000 people tuning in because people are starting to get it. starting to get the fact that you can go out there and start a company and have a vision and you can actually make it happen. You can actually do it. Just get off the goddamn bench. Stop watching the game and get in the game. That's what it's all about. If you take anything from watching This Week in Startups, it's that you can do it. All right, anyway, enough of that rant. Today, I'm super excited to have Tristan Walker on the program because I don't know what, I mean, you have some gift of getting attention.
Okay.
Because everybody keeps mentioning Tristan Walker to me. Everybody mentions Bevel to me. There's something that you have as if you were like a X-Men, if you're a member of like the Justice League, yours would be getting attention for your product. You have done an amazing job of getting Bevel on the map because I hear about it constantly on Twitter, social media, et cetera. So welcome to the program, Tristan Walker.
Thanks for
and
having
tell
me.
us, what is Bevel?
By the way, that speech was amazing.
I'm just on fire today.
Did you just make that up off the cuff?
It was just off the cuff. I'm just on fire today. You know why?
It was an incredibly inspiring speech.
I'm just tired of the complaining and the whining I hear from these entitled people who want the world to change, but they're just not willing to do anything.
Nah, man, you need to hear that stuff. That's all.
Everybody's complaining and whining. And I mean, you're an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You're doing this. Isn't life great?
Nah, man, you said the world is getting more awesome. That was a line that I'm going to take away and speak to my team all the time about.
It's getting awesome. But what we do is hard as entrepreneurs.
Yeah,
It's hard moments. But tell me about Bevel. What is this product? How did you come to this idea? And who the hell are you?
So I'm Tristan Walker. I'm the founder and CEO of Walker & Company Brands. We have raised 2 rounds of funding from Andreessen Horowitz, Upfront Ventures, and others. And Walker & Company is about one kind of very ambitious idea, and that's to make health and beauty simple for people of color.
Okay.
I was an entrepreneur in residence at Andreessen Horowitz, and I was thinking about what I wanted to
What does
start.
that mean, E.I.R?
Yeah, so
explain that to the audience that doesn't know.
So
it's kind of a big deal.
It was pretty awesome. Ben Horowitz gave me the opportunity to really come in to the firm and just think of the company I wanted to start. He said, "Come spend 6 to 9 months to think of this. Hopefully you come out with something that you can build that's authentic and unique to you." Unfortunately, 7 months into it, I came up with this idea. 2 months after that, raised money, and the rest is history at this point.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And so tell us about the idea and what the mission of the company is.
Yeah, so Walker & Company really started out as 2 views of the world that I had that I think few people in Silicon Valley understand.
Okay.
The first pertains to culture. Right? I really fundamentally have this belief that all global culture is led by American culture, which is led by Black culture in the U.S. You think about food, music, dance, etc.
And it has been, by the way, for some time.
Forever.
Yeah.
And a big frustration of mine is my living in the earliest adopting region in the world, and it's knowing very little about the earliest adopting culture. Right? That discord doesn't make any sense to me.
So you have Silicon Valley, which is primarily white. And we have a massive problem, not a lot of Black entrepreneurs or Black people even involved. There's been a lot of talk about that. But then you make this very salient point, which is, hey, hip-hop, movies, I mean, blues, I mean, we could go back 30, 40 years.
Everything.
Black culture is huge in terms of what we consume.
Absolutely.
Huge.
Absolutely. So I saw that.
So much so that this tradition of white people stealing it. I mean, Elvis Presley and down the line.
Well, touche. And it's not only kind of like the products and kind of industries, but you even think technology and some of the kind of most well-known technology startups today built on the back of culture, right?
Right.
And that's kind of an insight that I had. The second one pertains.
What's an example of that? Like, what do you, when you look at brands in the space, what 2 or 3 do you think were really driven by the urban market?
Peace by Dre.
Okay.
Vitamin Water.
For sure.
I'd even posit to say Twitter.
Absolutely,
in a big
Twitter.
Way. Some of the most well-known companies that we know of are built on the back of that culture.
I would say Instagram too.
Absolutely. Vine.
Instagram's huge. Vine is huge.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
King Batch.
Yeah.
You know King Batch?
Yeah, I do.
That's my guy.
I
King
do.
Batch and I hung out in Malibu and we just hung out at Art Basel.
Yeah, no,
He's
it's
got
the real deal.
9 million people.
It's the real deal.
And here, to your point about like these 2 cultures being totally separate, I am talking to King Batch, which is B-A-C-H. It sounds like Bach, but he has 9 million people following him on Vine. So I said, when are you up in the Valley next time? He's like, I don't come to the Valley. I'm on the Mindy Project. I'm on TV.
Yeah.
I was like, all right, come up, stay for a day, just crash at my place. I want to talk to you about building brands. I want to get you equity in some of my startups because you could help materially grow these. Yeah. And who do you know at Twitter? You know what he said? Nobody.
I'm not surprised.
The number one user The number one person driving the growth of Vine knows nobody at Twitter.
I am not
This
surprised.
proves your point.
Yeah, no, it's
These two
it's real.
cultures are like the person who's growing. Why do you think that is? Do you think that the people at these big companies or at these internet companies don't want to be in touch with that group? They don't want to have them involved,
No,
or they
I
want to keep them at arm's length?
I think it's just lack of context. Right?
Lack of context. What does that mean?
I mean, I grew up with a set of just experiences that made me recognize how important the culture was, whether that's hip hop or food or whatever. That's just a part of who I am.
Right.
And I wanted to make sure if I was going to start a company, I had to build something that I was truly authentic to.
Right.
Right. For the first 7 months of my time at Andreessen Horowitz, I was just wasting my time chasing things that I probably shouldn't have been chasing. Right.
So you're just sitting in on meetings, coming up with ideas, and just telling people, what do you think of this idea? What do you think of that idea?
For a while, I was trying to think of ideas that would make other people happy, right? I wanted to build a bank. I wanted to fix childhood obesity. I had an idea to fix freight and trucking in the country. But I'm not the guy for those things, right?
So those things are big, huge problems.
Yeah.
But you're saying you're not the guy for that. So you could get to product market fit, but not product founder fit.
Exactly. And when I reflected back on all the entrepreneurs I was really inspired by, I worked at Foursquare before Andreessen Horowitz, and we had a founder CEO that was one of the most authentic kind of founder CEOs in Dennis that I've ever seen, right? Yeah. I'm inspired by those folks that have that authenticity. When I came to that realization, I just had to say, you know what, I can't care what people think about what we're trying to build.
Right.
We're going to build what we think we can build better than anybody.
See, I like the childhood obesity one too. That's what was your idea there? So take me through some of your wrong ideas, then we'll get into.
Yeah. So, from a childhood obesity perspective, I kind of reflected back on my kind of life, kind of growing up, right?
In Queens.
In Queens,
right
born
next
and
to
raised.
me in Brooklyn.
And, we couldn't help but want to go out and play all the time.
Well, you weren't allowed to stay inside.
Exactly.
If your parents were like mine, they're like, get the hell out, it's 7 a.m., stop making noise, and come back at 5.
Exactly right. But today, a lot of children with video games, smartphone technology, et cetera, they're just stuck on the couch, right?
Yep.
And one thing that I got really inspired by and excited about is this idea of play, right? How do we take something that folks are already doing and get them to play with it? You look at kind of what the Connect has done, even kind of some of the stories that came out of like DDR, Dance Dance Revolution.
For sure.
And a lot of the weight that folks were losing as a result of it, as a secondary and even tertiary kind of effect. Someone's going to do this and do it well and do a lot for humanity. It just wasn't me.
Got it. All right, when we get back from commercial break, we're going to open the Bevel box and we're going to see your first product from the Walker and Company brands. Because I'm assuming there's going to be other products. So you'll answer that question when we get back on This Week in Startups. Hey, everybody. Let me take a moment to tell you about the awesome product known as FreshBooks. You've heard it. It's on the radio constantly. You've heard people talk about it. You've gotten invoices from people who use it. It is the most easy-to-use invoicing system, accounting system that you could ever imagine. And why? Because it's made for independent contractors, developers, designers, consultants, folks like me and you who may need to charge multiple clients for multiple things. And when you have to go across town and take a couple of Ubers and maybe buy some AdSense for somebody or buy some stock images, you want all that stuff tracked and how many hours you're working. Well, you can track it with the expense tracking that's built into FreshBooks. And you can track the hours with the time tracking that's built into FreshBooks. And it's all so elegant and simple that you will get out of using Microsoft Word or Google Docs or whatever it is to do what I call the save and repeat, where you open up the previous invoice, you write over it, you save it, and then everything is kludgy. You don't know if you got paid, you're missing invoices. Did they get it? Did you have the right expenses on it? Did you duplicate stuff? It's a disaster. In fact, I paid a consultant recently, before we started using FreshBooks, twice for the same work. Luckily, that person was honest and said, Josh said, hey, Jason, you paid me twice. I literally overpaid by $3,000 because I made a mistake with the stupid invoicing stuff. Don't be an idiot like me. Use FreshBooks. You can capture all those expenses, you track your time, and you get real-time business reports with just a click. And it's time tracking done right. And you can log all those expenses on your iPhone, Android, or desktop. It's simple and easy to use for SMBs. And as you know, a lot of people use it, including Chartbeat and a bunch of my portfolio companies. It's free for Twist viewers. Just try it free for 30 days with no obligation. Go to getfreshbooks.com and enter the promo code TWIST in the How Did You Hear About Us section. Right? So go to getfreshbooks.com. Enter TWIST, TWIST, and you'll get 30 days free when you put it right into that How Did You Hear About Us section. FreshBooks is an amazing product. Michael, who is the founder who made it, he was doing all his invoice in Excel and Word, and he just started making tons of stupid mistakes like me. And he said, I am going to take this sand in the oyster and I am going to make a pearl, and that pearl is FreshBooks. It is a beautiful, elegant, simple-to-use products. And go ahead and go to getfreshbooks.com and get it, and thank them. Thanks at FreshBooks for sponsoring independent media like at TWI Startups. Okay, let's get back to this amazing episode. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. I'm Jason Calacanis. I'm your host. You can follow me at Jason on Twitter, and you can follow the show at TWI Startups on Instagram or Twitter. And we're on the Facebook now, and we're starting to upload videos there because I'm told that that's a place where videos can get an audience. I don't know if that's true or not, but maybe. Who knows? I don't know if our audience is really on Facebook for video. But my guest today is Tristan Walker. You can follow him at Tristan Walker on the Twitter, and he is the CEO and founder of WalkerandCompany.com. And their first product is Bevel, which is at Bevel on Twitter. And you can go to getbevel.com right now. So this is your first product.
Yes.
What is it? And I mean, I'm assuming that when I open this box, this is going to be like the greatest smartphone ever, because this looks like something I got from the Apple Store. The packaging is very tight.
Thank you. So Bevel is the first and only end-to-end shaving system designed specifically for men and women with coarse curly hair. Prone to things like shaving irritation, razor bumps, etc.
Gotcha. Like me with my coarse curly. Well, I'm the opposite of that.
Well, I mean, so it's a problem that up to 80% of black men and women have, and 30% of men and women of other races have. It's a pretty pervasive issue.
Right. Got to be annoying.
It's terribly annoying.
Because I've had an ingrown hair before, and I get like one every like couple of weeks.
It's the worst.
Oh my God, it's painful.
It's the worst.
But if you have curly hair, you get it how often? How many?
Very often.
Like every week.
Exactly. And for 15 years, I was unable to shave. Because,
so what, did you grow a beard?
No, so
you just suffered.
I used all the mass marketed products that existed to my dismay. I used multi-blade razors. They cut the hair beneath your skin. So if you have curly hair, it's just going to grow into your skin, which
disaster.
Sucks. I put on depilatory creams on my face. So these are things that you let sit on your face for 6 to 8 minutes. They have chemicals in it that burn your face. They smell up your bathroom.
And then what? Everything falls off? Like it's like using Nair or something?
Done. The exact equivalent of that.
So you burn your face in order to not get razor bumps. Doesn't sound like a great solution.
Exactly. So I got fed up, and I felt we deserved better, and we wanted to have a brand that delivered on an efficacy promise. It's a clinically proven solution with really great design, a service experience that's second to none, and something that our demo that we serve can be incredibly proud of.
Got it.
And Bevel is really the first manifestation of our larger vision for Walker & Company.
So what is it about a single razor like that? This is like a single razor blade system?
It's a single blade, double-edge safety razor, yeah.
It's like my dad used to use like this old school razor, and he changed the blades, I remember.
Yeah.
Hard to change the blades? That's a little bit intimidating to use the blades.
Very
or is it
simple.
Easy?
Very simple. All you do is kind of take the top head, you unscrew the handle from it.
There you go. Boom.
The story goes, it's a really fascinating story. Back in 1904, the modern shaving market was really created by a gentleman named King Gillette. He had this really amazing insight. He said,
may have heard of him.
Yeah. He said, for hundreds of years, barbers have been using this thing called the straight razor to great efficacy, right? It cuts the hair level with your skin as opposed to beneath like multi-blade razors. It's one clean cut, so there's no pulling or tugging. But it's hard for you to use yourself if you're not trained, right? You might cut yourself, et cetera.
Yeah, scary.
Exactly.
My dad had that too.
He had this idea to create a tool where you can put a single blade within a safe head, connect it to a handle, take it home with you, and shave.
Got it.
And many would argue that the only reason, fast forward 20 years after that founding, they lost the patent. And many would argue that the only reason we have 2, 3, 4, 58 blade razors today is purely due to patent protection, right? But it's actually less efficacious than what's right
So you keep bringing up that efficacy word.
Yeah.
As an entrepreneur, why is that important?
Because people need to know that your product works, right?
Right.
And the great thing about our product is that you're going to know within 12, 24 hours if it works.
Gotcha.
And you'll know that, the past 15 years you've been struggling with products that haven't. So it's fascinating some of the, responses we get from customers around how we're changing their lives as a result of the product.
And so there's efficacy in these, but you feel this is like kind of what you discovered as a entrepreneur, I'm assuming, which is we've been sold a false bill of goods that more razors are better and have better efficacy when in fact they don't.
Yep.
And the reason we've been sold that is because people want patent protection on these double, triple And I think actually isn't the double off of patent protection now?
Yes. So with each kind of additional blade, extrapolate out another 20 years, and you lose the patent on it. It's fascinating. You asked.
I changed the blade, and while we were talking, it took me 5 seconds to just take the blade off. So it's actually, that's the first time I've ever done it in my life. So I've fallen.
Hopefully not the last.
Well, you know what? I'm going to definitely shave with this.
Yeah.
But it is interesting. In life, you can fall for this marketing, and they just pull the wool over your eyes, because I actually did think that multiple blades were better.
Yeah.
But you're saying I'm just falling for the marketing.
Well, in hindsight, it actually makes sense. So you ask any of the kind of larger incumbents why, they continue to add blades, and they say they're building for mass, right? Mm-hmm. And mass today looks very different than it will in 20, 30 years when folks of color are actually the majority of the country prone to these issues.
Yeah.
So there's going to have to be a question where, do these incumbents continue to push multi-blade, or do they engage in creative destruction of their own, revenue streams?
Because if you have I'm assuming if you have the patent, that's why when I get this Gillette, whatever triple I get,
that's why you pay $900
it's
for it. Yeah.
It is unfracking believable how expensive these things are.
It's a lot of money.
Every time I click buy on that, and then when I throw, and I don't have to worry about this right now in my life, but every time I throw a razor, I'm always wondering how many days should I use it?
Yeah,
how much
absolutely.
They cost like $3 or $4 a blade, right?
Well, one thing that you'll notice with our kit, so that's a 30-day starter kit.
Yeah. There's what, 10 blades in there?
20.
20.
Yeah.
So I basically change it every other day.
Every single time.
Wow.
Every single time.
And what does it cost? What does it cost for?
So this starter kit right here, which includes all of those products, our shave cream, priming oil, restoring balm, shaving brush, and razor. That's $59.95.
Okay.
For
so
all
that's
of that.
affordable.
For all of that.
For all of it. And that gets you through your first X number of days.
First month, and then we'll send you out a 3-month replenishment kit. And for that, we charge $29.95 a month for it.
So what's great about this is because it's a subscription service, I guess, when you acquire a customer, and I guess you must have learned a lot about this at Andreessen Horowitz because they got a bunch of other investments, there's this whole lifetime value of the customer. So how long have you been selling this? And talk to me a little bit about the metrics as an entrepreneur that you study to make sure that this business becomes viable.
Yeah, so for us, it's less about significant hypergrowth. We care about building product that works, that will keep people to use it for lifetime. So we started shipping this.
Which goes back to efficacy.
Exactly.
If it don't work and you're
people just
selling
won't keep using it.
You need to have it actually work so people do word of mouth,
Absolutely.
Not ram and jam it and convince them to buy something they don't
Absolutely
need.
Right. So, we started shipping in February. So we've been out, let's just say 10 months for now. Each month, over 95% of people stick.
Wow.
So that's $59.95 for the first kit and then $29.95 a month thereafter. And it's because, a lot of our customers are shaving for either the first time or the second time because everything else that he used just sucked.
Yeah.
And when they finally use a solution like this, they thank us a whole bunch because no one else has delivered.
It's basically $1 a day, actually. I just did the math.
Pretty much.
Something like that. So for $1 a day, if you were using the other solutions, you'd be at double that or something to that effect. So half the price. And
well, it's what are you willing to pay for confidence, right? We get these stories all the time from folks. I'll tell you a few. There's a gentleman who reached out to us a couple weeks ago. He's in the Army. He got to shave every day in the Army, and he said, Tristan, for as long as I could remember, razor bumps have been as big a part of my military career as my uniform.
Wow.
Right. Thank you for finally having a product that works. Another gentleman, he said, for 15 years I've been donning a beard to work out of fear of using some of the mass marketed products, and I feel like it's limited my career advancement.
Wow.
Right, thank you for finally having a product that works. That's the shit that we get incredibly excited about.
Right. No, if people have that life-changing experience, that makes it so much more meaningful. And as I was sort of alluding to in the beginning of the show, it's there are all these problems out there yet to be solved or to be optimized or to be made 5, 10, 20% better. And if you do that, there is something noble in that, isn't it?
Yeah.
No,
it's about pride, man. For all the time that I've gone to these retail shops trying to pick up health and beauty products, I have to go to the ethnic aisle. That's really a shelf. Then I have to kind of pick up dirty packaging with incredibly outdated kind of design. It's just ridiculous.
I'm telling you,
we deserve better.
I hate having to open those Gillette razors.
Yeah.
Just even open that plastic is so annoying. I love this experience. This is such a beautiful experience.
Thank you.
All right, when we get back, I want to understand how you were able to raise so much money for the company. What did they see in terms of the opportunity? And then what's the direction you're going to take this next when we get back on This Week in Startups? Hey everybody, it's Jason Calacanis here, and I want to tell you about a product that I literally use for at least 8 hours a day. I've got it open all the time, and my organizations run 100% on this product. Right now you're thinking, what is that product, Jason? What is your product that 25 of your team members are on every day and that you're on for over 8 hours a day, including the weekends? That product is HipChat. HipChat is a structured chat environment, persistent chat rooms for all the things that your startup is working on. So, for example, here I am in my HipChat, and they have beautiful desktop clients as well as having a mobile client. They're basically everywhere. Mobile, web, they have an app that you can download for the desktop that's persistent. And I here can talk to the Web 2.0 team at Inside, switch over to talking about launch, talk to my team leaders, talk to Inside, talk directly with anybody, and I can see those little avatars. We have a little icon next to everybody if they're on mobile or if they're on the desktop. If they're green, they're on. If they're red, they don't want to be disturbed, all this stuff. What this does is it takes every conversation out of the reply all insanity. I would say that our email usage went down conservatively 80% when we got on HipChat. And I would say that communications in the organization went up at least 200 or 300%. The number one complaint in every organization I've ever seen in my life, whether it's incredibly successful or a complete failure, is communication. Everybody wants to have better communication, and HipChat is the way to do it. IM doesn't work because it's not integrated with other tools. We do all kinds of special things like have, GitHub and tweets and all kinds of stuff injected into these chat rooms. So when somebody tweets or an RSS feed updates, for example, when the Twist This Week in Startups update happens on our RSS feed, it puts that into our HipChat chat room so everybody knows, hey, the new show is up. When somebody tweets our handle, it puts it into a chat room. So we have these monitors, and so the real world is coming into our HipChat chat rooms, and HipChat is free forever for their regular standard service. But I recommend you get the HipChat Plus, which has video and screen sharing that works really well. And that is free for 6 months to 1,000 listeners, right? So the first 1,000 listeners that go to hipchat.com/twist, hipchat.com/twist are going to get 6 months of the premium service. That's right, HipChat Plus. And you need to go check it out. HipChat is extraordinary. It works. And like I said, we use it all day long. I could talk about it for 10 minutes, and I've talked about it for 2.5, which is literally double the amount of an ad read is supposed to be here. Just go use HipChat. Please go use hipchat.com/twist and thank @HipChat on your Twitter handle. We even use it at our events, which is kind of fun. We just set up a persistent chat room at our events so people can talk and do a back channel. Anyway, let's get back to this amazing episode. Thanks again, HipChat. I love the product. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to This Week in Startups. I'm your host, Jason Calacanis. I'm at Jason, and my guest today is Tristan Walker, at Tristan Walker, who I have to say, we just met today.
Yeah.
But I think you come up in my Twitter stream, and Bevel comes up in my Twitter stream every other day, something like that. You've got some gift at getting attention. What do you think the secret is to getting attention for your startup? Like you must have a couple of things in that bag of tricks that's making you keep coming up on the radar.
Well, you got to make something that people are willing to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Develop product that works. Develop a service offering that folks can be inspired by. When you get this box, you even get a handwritten note from me with like my signature on it.
Yeah.
With my email saying, hey, if you have any issues, reach out to me and hold me accountable, right? So folks know who to go to kind of have these conversations. And, I inspire that throughout my entire team. But it starts with having a product that people are willing to talk about. And I think we've been able to nail that. How
is there something in product design that you've learned about what makes people talk about it? And because I'm assuming, you didn't name the company just Bevel. It's Walker and Company and brands. So there's going to be multiple brands coming.
Absolutely.
Hopefully you launch one on stage at the Launch Festival March 2nd. You get something the first week in March you can launch? I got 3,000 people in the audience if you do. We can do some horse trading here. All I need, hey, listen, if you want to have a 10,000 person event, I give you 10 minutes on stage, you launch some new product, we do a little fireside chat. This is actually how I get great guests, everybody. I just offer up the number of people in the audience. But are you going to come up with another product this year?
Absolutely. So 2015 is going to be a big year for us.
So you're going to launch, what do you think, 2, 3, 4, 5 products? How many can you reasonably launch at this level of quality?
A lot.
Okay.
So in 2015, we're going to launch a new product for Bevel, which I'm really excited about. We're going to launch a new brand. I'd love to get us in a cadence where we're launching, 2+ brands a year. When we raised our money, our first round of funding for that, 6 months later, we started taking orders, right?
Wow.
That's kind of start to end. All that design work, all of that kind of product formulation.
It's a lot of work to put into shaving.
Usually on average, a lot of larger incumbent companies take 18 to 24 months to launch. And we did it in 6. Knowing what we know now, we can probably do it in half the cost and half the time.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So back to that original question, which I forgot, which was, what have you learned about, hey, when you launch one of these products, makes it inherently viral or spreads word of mouth? I mean, obviously the little note is awesome because now you actually have a person who's saying, hey, thanks for your support and welcome to the family. Please contact me.
Yeah.
And I'm sure people do.
Yeah.
So that's definitely one of your tips.
Absolutely.
Is make it personal. What else?
I think there's something abstract in really the following. So Johnny and I from Apple, he was at a Vanity Fair conference and he said something that was pretty profound that stuck with me for a while. He said, he realized that consumers can discern care in a product as much as they can discern carelessness. Right? And that was
profound.
Really interesting.
Wow. It's like a thought bomb.
Exactly.
So people can... They are aware of care and carelessness.
Exactly. But a lot of folks don't think about the care, right? So even when you think about just opening that box takes 2.5, 3 seconds to lift up, build the anticipation for what's underneath.
Yeah.
You pick up the razor, it's heavy, it's different from what you've seen
That was
previous.
the first thing I said, it's heavy.
Yeah, it's the real deal.
And heavy, yeah.
So we take a lot of care into that experience.
And the box
folks love
is what the thing about these kind of boxes is, I would never want to throw it away.
Yeah.
It really is like the Apple box. You're like, oh my God, I'm never going to throw it away.
We get a lot of customers who say the exact same thing.
I'm going to give it to my daughter. She's going to put her toys in it. What is your secrets around getting press? Because that's been another thing that I've been impressed with is I see this you get a lot of media hits. So do you use an outside agency? Do you direct that yourself as CEO? Is it based on your personality? Is it based on the product, based on the demographic? How do you go about getting press for a product, and how important is press for a product like this?
Yeah, so I think it starts with relationships, right? Fortunately, I had the good fortune to work at Foursquare, which throughout its entire existence has been very good at kind of garnering interest in what it built.
Dennis Crowley's company, right?
Exactly.
Incredible.
So that allowed me to really forge really great relationships with reporters and other folks around kind of what we were doing then and what I was doing kind of when I started Walker & Company. So they were willing to listen. And then the product spoke for itself thereafter.
Got it. So having those pre-existing relationships with a journalist, nurturing those relationships. Do you do that with an intermediary like a PR firm, or do you think that's something that an entrepreneur's responsibility is to make those relationships?
Yeah, I think as a CEO, if you can't convince reporters to write about you, then you probably shouldn't be working on the thing that you're working on.
Right.
And I think it's also important, depending on if you have a product that people are willing to talk about, you can get inundated with inbound. So for us, we leverage a PR firm to really help us with that inbound.
Got it.
But a lot of that foundation.
So they're qualifying
internally. Exactly.
Got it.
Exactly. We wanted to build kind of really that know-how internally before we outsourced it. And I think we've done a good job with that so far.
All right. So client acquisition and reducing churn, all that kind of stuff. How do you actually, because this product costs $1 a day or whatever, it's probably got a lifetime value of whatever, $500, $600, $700, I'm guessing, or TBD. Hopefully more.
I'd hope so.
Hopefully more than 18 months of using it. So could have a lifetime value in the low thousands of dollars possibly. How do you go about acquiring a customer? Because you can spend money, right? And spending money when you have a product that has this type of lifetime value is how it's done, I assume.
Yeah. Well, we haven't spent that much money on marketing at all.
Oh, really?
We dabble in Facebook, Google, and all that stuff.
Does it work?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
It does. Well, specifically because we can get payback on that quite quickly, right? Because our customers stick. What's interesting about our product, I remember I spoke a little bit about how our customers are either shaving for the first time or that second time. Once they find a product that works, they're willing to talk about it. right? So if you think about shaving in general for our customers, there's some inherent skepticism, right? Oh, prove to me why your product works relative to other products out there. And a lot of times our customers will ask their friends, hey, did you try Bevel? And wait for their friend's review of that before they kind of make the dive. But they eventually make the dive, and then we have them. And that's kind of lowered, at least when you think about kind of a customer acquisition, et cetera, lowered it fairly significantly for us.
And so what's next for the company? Now that you have this base, how do you know when to stop, sort of hitting the gas on this one and just, letting it have that nice steady growth and launch the next one, right? Because that's got to be an infrastructure issue. How many people you got at the company? And, how do you know you're ready to add on those extra products?
Yeah, so that's a great question. So there's 15 of us at the company. We were 7 as of August of this year. So, we've grown over the past 6 months, which is great.
That's a tight team for somebody who's raised almost $10 million.
Well, we did a lot with that money. So, when I think about what new products and brands we can launch, it really starts with, for us, we have to solve a problem. Walker & Company is not going to make shampoo for the sake of making shampoo. We care about solving very acute health and beauty problems that exist for people of color. This is, the razor bump issue. You think about vitamin D deficiency. I think about natural hair transition.
What's vitamin D deficiency? I have that, by the way.
A lot of folks just might not get enough sun, right?
Yeah.
And need,
my doctor put me on a vitamin
supplements,
D every week.
et cetera. Yeah, exactly. And it's a problem that folks of color really over-index on, but everyone has, right? And that's going to be our mainstay. So when we identify those problems and solutions, we've proven we can launch a brand in less than 6 months. So there's no reason why we shouldn't do that. And we can do it cheaply, effectively, et cetera. So for us, once we identify that problem, we're going to work on things to kind of fill that need. But, I think we can kind of cap it around, 2, maybe 3 new brands a year, at least at our steady state.
How underserviced is the Black demographic in terms of, sort of health and beauty?
Yeah.
Are there brands specifically targeting it, or is it just sort of like an afterthought by the, big, I don't know who, Procter & Gamble, or whoever it is?
Both. So there are a couple ways to answer that question, but specifically, just give you one stat. Black women are 6% of the country, and over 33% of all hair care spend.
I know that's true because I'm an investor in Melody McCloskey's company, Style Seat. Yeah. And she goes out and meets with the hair salons, and it's huge.
That is crazy.
Huge.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And there's no shortage of other categories where it's like that. But if you're a large incumbent kind of firm, you're going to look at that stat and say, hey, we need to kind of triple down on hair care. But you neglect all the other opportunities. Additionally, folks will say, well, the Latino demographic is growing very, very quickly.
Huge.
Let's kind of do things to really cater towards that demographic. And these are things that we're going to do.
Right.
But I think a lot of that really comes short-sighted because they really neglect some of the other categories and verticals that they can attack and actually deliver value on, right? And we'll do it.
Yeah, of course. So what about celebrities? Because you have a product that, hey, if you had endorsers, I immediately thought this would be amazing if you had some celebrity endorsers here. Because we're talking about Black culture and how influential LeBron James is, or pick an artist, whoever. You haven't leveraged anybody to date, or have you? Would you have celebrity investors? And what do you think of that vertical?
Yeah, so
I think it's super powerful.
We do have investors. Nas, for instance, is an investor in the company.
Very cool.
And he's great. The way we think about celebrity is, I think the way that folks should think about celebrity, it's authenticity.
Right.
Right. You look at what Beats did with Dre and Ciroc with P. Diddy, or Vitamin Water 50 Cent. Those are incredibly authentic endorsements.
Right.
We've had no shortage of chats with celebrities or potential endorsers, et cetera. But for us, it's all about finding the 1 or 2 that are uniquely authentic to what we're trying to solve.
Right.
And that'll differ by brand. It'll differ by product.
So that's definitely in the wheelhouse and on the
think
plan.
A lot about that.
See, I think that this is the huge opportunity. And so I'm friends with Troy Cotter. You probably know Troy.
I know Troy.
And Troy and I invest sort of in. I basically show him everything I'm investing in because I'm like, you know what, Troy, this. If you look at these great brands, Instagram, Twitter, you're saying, putting aside ones where you had ownership like Beats, but just ones where the community embraced it. God, what an opportunity.
Yeah.
And where are the black investors. That's the thing. I'm like, who in the black community wants to invest in these things? Because if you're, and Carmelo Anthony is another one who now has a fund. So I've been reaching out to Carmelo's guys, and I'm like, hey, I have deal flow. I'll give you my deal flow for free. Like, I'll just tell you what I'm investing in, like my big secret sauce, because if Carmelo winds up picking up one of these things and he endorses it or is just tweets it or is fond of it, that could make an entire brand the same way
it's arbitrage.
50 Cent made vitamin water.
Yeah, it's arbitrage and it's good business.
Yeah.
And that's the one thing that a lot of folks in Silicon Valley just don't understand, but a lot of these celebrities do, right? And I think a lot of folks don't give these celebrities enough credit, right? Like, these guys are smart and they know what they have.
They didn't command this amount of attention. Without like having something.
That's
like
exactly right.
People they very much diminish Kim Kardashian because of perhaps the porn stuff or the sex stuff or whatever. But like, if you look at what
she's smart.
She knows how to get attention.
She's
like
smart.
That video game she's doing is making some hundreds of millions of dollars a year.
It's crazy. It's crazy.
It's astounding.
Well, here's when we think about good business, I reflect back on this a lot. And that's kind of thinking of companies that I'm actually proud to support. I can't think of
That's
any.
a pretty high benchmark, right?
Yeah, like there are a lot of companies with products that like I love, but none in the time that I've been living that I can think of like my being so proud to support it, right?
Right. Like, I'm glad this exists in the universe.
Exactly.
I need to let everybody know.
Exactly.
As a consumer, like, you should be engaging this.
Exactly right. So, our opportunity at Walker & Company to actually build a health and beauty suite of brands that our customers can actually be proud to support, that's pretty transformative. And particularly when you consider kind of celebrities and our chats with them, they get excited about that.
Right.
Right. So for us, it's about leveraging them really to the most benefit, not only for us, but also them as well.
What did you learn at Foursquare? Because that's been quite a journey for Dennis and the team there. They went from like promising little startup to being incredibly hyped and raising tons of money. And now everybody's writing them off now. What do you think is the what did you learn there, number one, and what do you think the future looks like for Foursquare?
Well, for one, I think it's a misnomer to think that Foursquare isn't doing well. At least from what I know, they seem to be doing okay.
Yeah. I mean, I love the product.
Yeah. I mean, I would never bet against Dennis.
No, that would be a huge mistake.
Yeah, that's people will be on the losing side of that, and I really do believe in him.
Yeah.
As far as what I learned at Foursquare, it was really two things. Number one, the importance of authenticity, right? To have a leader that is truly authentic, to have a group of people that are authentic to what you're trying to solve, that's really important because it also makes management a hell of a lot easier, right? When folks are so bought into your vision and can articulate it just as well as you can, right? That's incredibly interesting for me and inspiring, et cetera. And then secondly, I guess this leads naturally out of that, is the importance of brand. I don't think people give the importance of brand enough credit. And for a lot of companies, it's all about customer acquisition, and that's a math problem, which we can all figure out.
Right.
But really, the companies that sustain with great legacy have a brand that folks want to support.
Right.
And I think Foursquare, we had folks that just bled Foursquare blue. It was a really amazing.
I'm one of those people. I mean, I will not pick a restaurant. Literally will not go to a cafe or restaurant without looking at Foursquare first. If I'm in another city, I will. I actually have a really good system now, which is I pull up Yelp and Foursquare, and I cross-reference.
Oh, cool.
Because I feel like Yelp has like a sort of a bigger database. You can sort of find everything in there. But when I look at the reviews, I'm like, this person doesn't. There's some foodies in here, there's some elite people, but I have to discount the people who are using it for customer service. But that new Foursquare app is so beautiful that when you take it out and it's like, around you, this is what your friends think is the best coffee, what the best stores are. I have found so many great. It's almost like a sniper. Foursquare is like this sniper, like it's just like, this is the perfect place to get your jeans. I found my jean place on there.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. And I found my butcher there in San Francisco when I moved up here. And that's like really well done. Back to quality of the brand and that experience and efficacy. Like, now I won't shut up about this AB Fits place where I buy jeans. I tell everybody AB Fits is incredible over in North Beach. And then Marina Meats, I'm like, this is the best meat place. It's unbelievable what the quality. Both found there.
Yeah. And
then Yelp is sort of like this machine gun where it's like, it's everything, it's comprehensive, and it's great. And
I mean, on the margin, a lot of folks don't want to know about the quality of the tablecloths, right? Like at a restaurant, like they want to know, go here, do this, right? I think that's something that Foursquare delivered on in a really compelling way. And thankfully, Dennis is stubborn. right? Like he always had this vision.
Yeah.
And now it's finally
he's
to
not
manifest
giving
itself.
up.
Yeah, and it's working, and I'm super proud of him. Like he deserves where he is right now.
How did you get so many people on your side as a founder? Like, it's pretty amazing the number. I'm just looking at your like list of advisors, your power advisors, and like, having Ron Johnson from JCPenney and, from Apple, and then having obviously Dennis and Suster and Ben Horowitz. What's your secret to networking? Because that's the other thing. Like, we haven't met, but I know all about you because of your network.
Yeah.
How did you build this network so effectively? Because what was your position at Foursquare that helped you get out there? Were you BD or something?
Yeah, so I was leading BD. So I was one of the first folks at the company when they were just Dennis, Naveen, and Harry at the time.
Yeah.
And we had 10,000 users, so no one really knew who we were. But I knew that they were something really special. And I've had the good fortune to work at companies like Foursquare that eventually took off.
Right.
In addition, I was going to Stanford, so I was on the West Coast while they were out east.
For Stanford MBA?
Exactly.
How was that?
It was great. It was awesome.
Was worth doing?
Incredible. Yeah, of course. I mean, that
What, for the network, or did you actually learn stuff there?
Well, I learned that Silicon Valley existed, which completely changed my life. But being at Foursquare on the West Coast, that gave me great exposure, right? Like I had to speak at the TechCrunch conferences, I had to do press and that sort of thing, and I'm very thankful that they believed in me to be able to do that.
Right.
And then after that, I was just doing good work. Right. And fortunately, just through that good work, folks were willing to trust me with things.
Yeah.
And, I try to be a good person. And I try not to make my relationships transactional. And I think that shines through. I mean, I met Mark Suster and Ben well before, the Foursquare and the, Andreessen Horowitz stuff.
That's interesting. You're not like, it's interesting you bring up the transactional thing, because a lot of what I've experienced in my career is people who are very transactional, like, can I get your investment dollars, Jason? Yes or no? Can I be on the show? Yes or no? Can I be a keynote speaker? Yes or no?
Yeah.
Oh, 3 no's? I'm out of here.
Yeah.
And I was like, can we talk about something other than what my platform can do for you? Like, is there another topic we talk about? Have you read a book?
Yeah.
Or have you seen a good movie? Do you know? Do you have a tip for a place to get jeans?
Yeah. No,
Give me something to talk about.
I just like learning.
Yeah.
Right. I moved out here 6 years ago. I had no idea Silicon Valley existed and knew I wanted to participate. What
did you think you were going to do? Where'd you go to college? You grew up in Queens, I know that.
I grew up in Queens. I went to Stony Brook University for
Stony Brook, Long Island.
Yeah, Long Island.
Oh, right.
After that, I worked on Wall Street as an oil trader on Wall Street.
So Stony Brook is that city or is that state?
That's State University.
State University system.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So you're a product of the State University system, and then you went into trade oil?
Yep. I was an oil trader on Wall Street for 2 years. Lehman Brothers and JP Morgan, hated it. And you wanted to get as far away from that as possible.
You seem much too creative, and you care about the world so much. Like I can't imagine you would want to.
I couldn't. It's like growing up.
Lucrative.
I knew I wanted to. I grew up projects, welfare family, all that stuff, and I knew I wanted to get rich. Right. I wanted to get as wealthy as possible, as quickly as possible.
See, that's really honest.
Yeah. No, I mean,
I had the same drive. I didn't grow up in the projects, but my dad was a bartender, my mom was a nurse.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, and it's refreshing to hear you say that, because people talk about like Silicon Valley is not about money, and you have all these people who are talking about like I'm not driven by money.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. When you're broke and your parents are broke, money becomes a very important thing to you, doesn't it?
It's a great motivator.
If you're watching your parents, watching my mom work 3 or 4 jobs, I'll start crying on the show. My dad losing his business and being a bartender and not being able to get work, like. When your parents are behind on their credit cards and you don't know if you're going to be able to keep, my parents couldn't even pay for college.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, and getting that ability to make money, it doesn't represent money. It represents what to you?
Freedom.
Yeah.
And optionality, right?
Yeah.
It's funny. When I was at business school, one of my professors was Mark Leslie. He founded Veritas, incredibly successful guy.
Yeah.
And he said there are 3 reasons to start a company, right? It really resonated with me. He said 1 is to get rich, 2 is to build a great company, and 3 is to change the world. And depending on kind of which you choose, that's really going to dictate how you build your company, that sort of thing. And it's there's nothing wrong with either one of those,
right?
So for me, for a long time, it was get rich and then and the rest will figure itself out later.
Right.
But spending some more time in Silicon Valley, I changed that priority a little bit.
Right.
Just because I've been given such great opportunity. So for me, it was all about building a great company that changes the world, that eventually gets me and my employees and my family wealthy. Right.
Right.
And we'll see if that works. But
I think
it's very different.
It's refreshing to hear you say that, because I'm so tired of people saying it's not about the money. It's not about the money. It's like, then why do we have this concept of venture capital that's looking for a return? And why are we all and equity and stock options? It is about money, but money is a tool. And what I think people don't realize is, like, being poor it sucks so bad, and you constantly are living in fear, and you're constantly not able to take risk in your life. And then I met all these people later in life whose parents had given them money or paid for their college, they had trust funds, and they didn't understand like what it was like to actually live with your parents being in debt and not being able to pay for your school.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, well, for me, it's not the end. It's a means to it, right? I got some really great advice when I was on Wall Street. There's a managing director who was super successful. Yeah. His name was Bill Lighton. He called me in his office. I was an intern at the time, and he said, "Tristan, I figured out life." And I was like, "Oh, tell me." Like,
here we go.
And he said, "Tristan, you want to spend the first third of your life learning, right? The second third earning, and the last third returning." Now, here's a guy, when he was 20, he left Yale to go work on Wall Street. The day he turned 40, he left. Like, super senior managing director, he left so he can kind of do the philanthropic thing. What was fascinating to me about that, he said, too many people try and put the returning thing before the earning thing.
Right.
So they're not able to scale the return. So for me, like, it's very important, at least to give back in return. But if I can kind of maximize kind of that earning portion, or even shorten it so that I can spend more time returning, that for me, I'll live a very happy life as a result of that. Yeah.
I think if you look at capitalism, and I started the show talking about it a little bit, everybody complains about the polarization of wealth. And the thing I've noticed is every person, and we meet a lot of people in this industry who have tremendous wealth, every person who winds up getting that tremendous wealth, my observation is it fracks with their mind so much that they have this money that nobody deserves to be a billionaire. Like, it's a ridiculous amount of money. And I think it screws with people's minds so much that they become so philanthropic because the weight of having all that money is like, it's just too much for a human to bear. So after they buy a couple of cars and a boat or whatever, a couple of houses, and they got the jet, they're like, I don't need this. Like, I got to get rid of this money because it's an albatross. And that's why they all sign that giving pledge.
That's a great point.
It actually turns out to be this capitalization and polarization of wealth. It might actually be an optimal system, because if a bunch of individuals made a little bit of money and it wasn't winner take all or winner take $10 billion, $20 billion, they might not actually feel that weight of giving it all away. Yeah. Now you've got Gates. I mean, look at him.
Yeah, it's a lot.
I mean, that's so inspiring to watch him give that money.
Well, I mean, I think fortunately I also had to learn that it's not necessarily mutually exclusive, right? So there's also a not-for-profit that I helped found, with a woman, Laura Powers, called Code 2040. And, we're doing that in tandem with, this earning phase of my life. And for me, it's about...
What is that Code 2040?
So Code 2040, our kind of big vision is to have the largest network of Black, Latino, technical talent in the world, and help them to participate effectively in this innovation economy. We, in our third year this year with our flagship program called the Fellows Program, the goal of it when we started was to get the highest performing Black and Latino engineering undergraduates internships out in the Valley and provide them with all the tools they need to be incredibly successful. That's media training, networking, among other things.
The stuff that you kind of picked up inherently.
Exactly.
Because there's not enough to be a great engineer. Yeah. You actually need to network your way into the industry and get into a powerful position.
Well, you also have to know that this industry exists, right? I didn't know that
kind of a problem. Let me ask you a question about race, because it keeps coming up on the program. 2014 was just a brutal year in terms of race, and we both grew up in New York. And I think people in New York are pretty chill on a race basis. I don't know what your perception of racism in New York, but growing up there, we all kind of had to deal with each other.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't say we were chill about it, but it's...
Well, you had these crazy things you did have crazy things that happened. I mean, and now you have the stuff with the cops and choking people to death and everything. But putting that aside for a second and just looking at, because there's obviously a huge problem there, and everybody recognizes it, and it's complete bullshit, and it needs to get solved now. And social media is actually playing a big part in it, which is really goes back to your earlier point about like Black Twitter and culture. And
absolutely right.
But how intimidating was it, or was it intimidating as a black man coming into Silicon Valley? Because there's a big dialogue about this, and we got a lot of people talking about it, but you actually are living it.
Yeah.
Did you feel like you weren't accepted, or did you feel intimidated about joining the industry, or what was your personal experience as a black man? Now as I think you're probably one of the 10 highest profile black founders in Silicon Valley.
Yeah, that's funny. I never. No one asked me that question as directly.
It's okay for me to ask you directly.
No, totally. No, absolutely.
I kind of feel like on this show we should talk about the race issue because everybody wants to dance around it, right? Yeah.
I'm happy to talk about it.
Yeah.
So, it starts with who I am. I'm from New York, right? And the one thing I learned in New York is that, like, you got to win, right? You can't lose. And, for me, it's always about being kind of one step ahead, moving a little bit faster, asking why 6 times when everyone else is willing to ask it 5, right? So when I got out here, exactly, I realized that I just needed to apply that hustle kind of to the Silicon Valley grind and figure it out. So for me, it wasn't about identifying myself as a black man in Silicon Valley.
Right.
It was about out hustling everybody else in Silicon Valley.
Right.
And fortunately, I was blessed with the opportunities that I was blessed with to deliver.
Right.
And the minute I started delivering, folks took notice, and they knew that I was going to do what I said I was going to do.
Right.
So that's not to say that I didn't and this is everybody experience any like implicit bias, right? Because everybody experiences that stuff. I haven't experienced much explicit bias, which I'm thankful for, and hopefully that continues.
Or perhaps you had so much hustle that any implicit bias that they tried to impose upon you just bounced off because you were so busy. No,
man, implicit bias is not going anywhere. I mean, you speak on the phone to venture capitalists you never met, and then when you meet them in person, they're kind of shocked that, like, I'm black, right? Like, it's that
did happen.
That happens.
Yeah.
I mean, it happens.
They're like, oh, you're black.
And it happens, and then we have the meeting, and then they forget about all that, right? So for me, it's about, knowing that implicit bias exists,
right?
And also trying to figure out ways to kind of break down that implicit bias. But for me, I mean, I wouldn't say it was any more difficult.
Right.
It's just unfortunate that I didn't know about the greatness of Silicon Valley until I was 24.
Right.
Right.
You would have gotten in earlier, so you have this regret that you got in so late at 24.
Exactly. That's my biggest regret.
In a way, I feel the same way. Like it's technology is such a great equalizer, and this industry is so performance based that if it doesn't matter your gender or race, if you have performance on a hockey stick, I mean, you've seen these venture capitalists the Pinterest guy is an Indian guy. It's not even a woman, right? So you think it would be a female founder. It's not. Like, people would literally knock their grandmother down to, like, race these venture capitalists to get money in that company. It really is based on performance. It's and that's always the issue I've had trying to figure out the race issue, which has been a big discussion, and the gender issue in Silicon Valley, which is I've only experienced, again, being a hustler from Brooklyn, that I've torn it up in this industry. Like, it's so open. There's so many opportunities. It's so huge. But I didn't know about it when I was a kid. Nobody exposed me in Brooklyn. Like, by the way, that's the quickest way to get power and money. Get in that technology business. Nobody tipped me off. Yeah.
No, I mean, I think you're right. And that's why I'm so excited about Code 2040.
Yeah.
If you just think about it for a second, right? What does it mean to make the greatest consumer demographic in the world aware enough about this place that you can help them turn into the best producing demographic in the world, right?
Explain that.
The greatest culturally influential demographic, right? That kind of takes these brands, we talked about them earlier, the Vines, Twitters, et cetera, and kind of builds towards kind of this demographic shift. I've gone on record saying, like, this demographic shift happening in this country is the greatest economic opportunity of my lifetime.
Right.
If you think, look in the year 2040 when the majority-minority thing flips, look at some of the most popular startups that exist today, Facebook, or not startups, but technology companies, Facebook, Instagram, even Foursquare. If you think about building those applications, is it going to be Spanish language first or English first?
Right.
Android first or iPhone first? And these are incredibly strategic questions that, like, folks need to answer.
Right.
And hopefully they answer those sooner rather than later and observe this demographic shift. And that's what we're trying to really evangelize at Code 2040. It's just damn good business.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And Android is the perfect example of, like, that is booming in the urban community because the phones are $100, $200 cheaper. So if you're a 16, 17, or 15-year-old kid in Brooklyn or Queens, where we grew up, like, that's material in getting your first phone.
Yeah.
So now you're on Android.
Yeah.
It's like Google's entire mobile strategy is urban.
Yeah.
Right? It's like it's the urban market is going to drive Android.
For the first time, I mean, you look kind of 15, 20 years ago, the cover of any of these newspapers, right? What technologies are they talking about? Technologies we can't touch, semantics, Cisco, like all this stuff, right?
Yeah.
Today, it's Snapchat and Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. And these are technologies that we can touch and affect and see that we can potentially produce, right? If we can get this demographic into that production in a big way, that's not only for our own competitiveness, but also America's competitiveness. I think there's an amazing opportunity to do something pretty special there.
See, I think it's awesome that you're giving back in this way. Yeah. And the thing I've learned over the past year is, like, if it's really heartbreaking to think you and I are peers, like we're both founders. Like you and I getting pulled over by the cops in New York or wherever it is, like they're not going to choke me to death.
Yeah.
But they might choke you to death because of the color.
Sure as hell hope not.
But it's got to be like scary as a black man today to interact with the cops or who are supposed to be there to protect you. Like, and what is that like? Like you're super successful and do you live with that fear if you get pulled over by the cops that like this could happen to you just because of the color of your skin?
Well, I mean, like I have a son, right? He's 10 weeks old.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
It's the greatest thing ever. Is your first?
Best thing to happen to me. Yeah, he's my first.
It gets so good. Like around 3, when they get their diapers off and then like they want to go to brunch with you.
Yeah.
Like, hey, can we go get lunch?
I got some time.
It's the greatest. Trust me. Like years 1, 2, and 3 are about mom.
Yeah.
When it's 3, 4, and 5, it's about dad.
Yeah. So for me, I think about not only inspiration for Walker & Company, which is really about kind of community. But it's about like helping him grow up in a world where, not only as a consumer or producer or just a person, like he's just truly respected, right? And, that's the stuff that just guides me every single day. Yeah. I can't live in fear, right? If I live in fear, that means I can't kind of deliver on the promise of the things that I wanted to build, right? So for me, it's about making sure that he can grow up in a world where he wouldn't have to live in fear.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you feel like things are getting better or not? Like this is the big thing. With race in this country and just like the future our kids are going to inherit. Like I have a mixed race child. Like she's half Asian, which is very interesting because when I say I have a mixed race child, they're like that doesn't count. I'm like it's very interesting. Okay. But like I see my wife experience as an Asian woman, discrimination quite often, which I never was aware of. When you're a white guy, you don't really even know any of this stuff exists because you're just not. It takes what's happened in the last year for guys like me to really like understand it really explicitly. Yeah. But do you think the world's getting better net for our kids, or do you, with these recent things going on and the taping of this in 2014, do you feel like it's not?
Well, I mean, our kids are going to grow up in an incredibly diverse world. Right. It's
true.
It's really, really the first generation where that's really going to happen domestically. And I'm excited about that.
I'm super excited about it.
I'm really, really excited about that.
Yeah.
And so for me, have we gotten better? I mean, I don't know if we have.
I don't know
right?
Either.
I don't know if we have.
I'm starting to wonder.
But I'd like to hope that we continue to, and I think it's important not only for our kids but just the country as a whole.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. Like when you'll see this when you start going to, because you're gonna get into the birthday party circuit and all this kind of stuff, like with kids and play dates and whatever. Especially here in San Francisco, it feels like most of the kids are mixed race now.
Yeah.
And when we grew up, like that was like an anomaly in the 80s. I don't know exactly when you grew up, but like in the 80s or 90s, it was like, wow, there's a mixed race person. That was just crazy. I think it's going to be the minority, like you're saying, it's clearly like whites are going to become the minority. We see that graphic shift, that the demographic shift is very clear. But the mixed race piece is, I think, super inspiring because God, if everybody's mixed race, like how does racism manifest itself when everybody's 3 different? Yeah,
the math doesn't lie. I mean, the demographic shift is real, right?
Very real. Well, and you figured out a way to really leverage it as a business too, which is super interesting. I think that's like the super opportunity for you is, all these issues that you're bringing up, like there is a market here, and there's a market case for building brands.
Well, you just got to have you got to play long game. Right. So for us, it's not about building a company that lasts kind of 5 years, selling it and calling it a day. Right. Like we want to build something with as much legacy as a Procter & Gamble or Johnson & Johnson or a Unilever. And that takes time. Right. And patience and gall, quite frankly. Yeah. I
have to say, it is kind of bold to like be like, you know what, I'm going to go up against Gillette. and I can do it better.
Well, I mean, it's not only Gillette, right? There are a lot of brands in different verticals that just aren't solving problems that kind of people of color have had for way too long, right? Yeah. So the opportunity and the vision is much bigger.
Right.
Right.
So even, do you think you'll go beyond beauty?
Well, it's going to be health and beauty.
Well, health and beauty, right. So when you get into, when you get into vitamins and all that, oh my God, that market is huge.
Yep.
I'm an investor in one company, Smarty Pants, which does it for kids, like brain vitamins for kids.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable.
Well, what's really fascinating about consumer packaged goods and health and beauty in general is that there's nothing more unique in the world than an individual's physiological makeup, right?
Right.
But there's nothing kind of more kind of broad and less personalized than like health and beauty and consumer packaged goods. Like that doesn't make any sense to me at all.
Right. We're all unique snowflakes, and we're all getting served the same vitamin. We're all getting served the same whatever.
Totally right. So this idea of like one to many for CPG, it has to stop. Right. So for us, it's first targeting like people of color. We have that unique difference, but it really should be one to one. You know, we say we want to make health and beauty simple for people of color, but health and beauty should just be simple.
Right.
Period. And that's kind of the long-term vision that we have for the company.
It's awesome. Hey, listen, this has been a great hour plus. Listen, if you're any guy, go order Bevel and give it a shot and support the new, right? So a lot of people ask me like, hey, I'm listening to the show. There's 100,000 of you out there listening. How can I help, right? How can I help startups, whatever? Try the products. And if you like them, tweet the hell out of them. That's how you can help, is to support the new. Because you know what? The world is cruel to new things. It's just hard on new things. And if you are a fan of startups, if you're a fan of the show, that's all I ask is anytime I have somebody on the show, just try it. Support the new. That is the rallying cry of the show. So go ahead and follow Tristan Walker. Go ahead and follow Bevel. And go to Get Bevel. And just listen, you got to shave anyway, and this is going to be half the price. So how much do I have to sell you on this? You're going to save half your money. It's going to be a better experience. And then tweet the hell out of it if you like it. And thanks to the sponsors of the show. Oh, and if you want to check out Code 2040, it's code2040.org. I'm going to check that out. You can follow them at Code 2040. And I mentioned it's at Tristan Walker. The show is at TWI Startups. And let me just take a moment to thank at the end of the program my latest. This is a new thing I'm going to do. At the end of the program, there's going to be a stinger. Like when you watch the Marvel movies at the end, like Iron Man comes out or whoever's going to be the next character, maybe Spider-Man, whatever. This is your stinger for something I've just invested in that I'm really, really enamored with. It's called Zirtual, ZIRTUAL.com. And what they do is virtual assistants, right? So you set up an email. I have an email. And instead of having like a full-time assistant, which is kind of a waste of money, and then I got to hire them, and then they leave, and then I got to hire another one, it's a pain in the ass. I can just pay $3.99 a month, which is exactly what I pay for 16 hours of support. You do the math on that, it's like $4,800 a year. So instead of having a $40,000 or $50,000 total cost, $60,000 to have a support person, I just CC my virtual assistant and say, hey, can we book this dinner? Hey, can you get me a reservation? Hey, I need this flight. Hey, something's changed. Hey, can you research this for me? Hey, can you make me a list of the top 20, CEOs in consumer packaged goods or whatever who have had an investment in the last year? Go on to, Mattermark or AngelList or Crunchbase and find me these things, research, etc. These are all college-educated, awesome people. And like I said, it's like $22 to $25 an hour, but you can have it go up and down. So you can say, hey, I want 30 hours this month, 16 hours next month, etc. And if you visit Zirtual.com and enter the code LAUNCH, they're going to give you a $100 credit. So your first month would drop from $3.99 to $2.99. So when you see them say, how did you hear about us? Just put in LAUNCH. In the future, we should make that like JCal or something, or Jason, just like serve my ego a little bit better here. But okay, anyway, put in launch, Zirtual.com. And thanks to Marin over at Zirtual for allowing me to invest in the company. I've invested in the company. And so every episode now of This Week in Startups, if you make it to the end, you get to hear a company I invested in and get a secret code to get off on there, to get a good deal off on it. And make sure, hey, Bevel too. I'm not an investor in that, but I may get in the next round. This whole show, by the way, if you didn't... if it's not absolutely clear to everybody, this show is about me figuring out how to build a bomb with founders so that I can slip in a quick 50 dimes and
at least you own it.
Invest. That's it. The whole show is up front.
Hey, that's no problem.
It's great conversations
awesome.
that lead to me investing in awesome companies. All right, listen, thank you, Tristan. You were awesome.
Thank you, Jason.
And everybody check out Bevel. GetBevel.com. Go buy it. Try it. All right. Good Christmas gift, too. We'll see you next time on This Week in Startups. Bye-bye.